I really like it up here. I wish I could have got here sooner. It's just such a tremendous place to be. The views are extraordinary. It's really fun to be floating around, and it just makes me feel like a little kid.
We call amazing things that humans do moonshots for a reason, because this brought us together and showed us what we can do when we put, not just putting our differences aside, when we bring our differences together and use all the strengths to accomplish something great.
That was the incredible crew of NASA's Artemis II mission, giving the rest of us still here on Earth a quick update. After a day of testing systems on the Orion capsule, the 4 astronauts have now left Earth's orbit and are officially heading towards the moon at over 5,000 miles per hour. Peter, you have a new piece on the New York Times titled "The Awe of a Moon Launch in an Age of Trump, Turmoil and Tribal Divisions," where you talk about the parallels and stark differences between the first flight to the moon and the one that just launched this week. You write, quote, "To be sure, Artemis is not Apollo, and going back to the moon doesn't fire the imagination like going there in the first place. For many Americans, it seems like a rerun, even if most were not old enough to remember the last time humans ventured beyond Earth's orbit. Moreover, for all of those, the wonder of those iconic launches in the 1960s and early 1970s, the sense of coming together did not last long. Apollo didn't end the unrest over the Vietnam War or civil rights or the assassinations of the era. And once Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin took that giant leap for mankind and beat the Russians, which, after all, was John F. Kennedy's real goal, the magic ended for many ready to move on. Yet there was still something awe-inspiring about reaching for another world again after so long, as enthusiastic crowds gathered in Florida and online around the world concluded this week. Peter, as I was just saying to you, this piece was a bit of an emotional roller coaster, and I love the framing of it. But I have one question that you actually didn't raise in this, which is how much do you feel like the current media landscape and all that is now competing for our imagination plays into the way that this has resonated with Americans?
Yeah. See, when Apollo took off, there were 3 broadcast networks, right? And we all watched at the same time. When Apollo 8, the first mission to go to the moon, didn't land like this one, but went to the moon, first astronauts ever to go that far. On Christmas Eve, they read from the book of Genesis, back a message of peace back to Earth. 1 billion people estimated were listening or watching from around the world. Think about that. On Wednesday night, obviously, that wasn't the case. We could watch it on MSNBC, CNN, whatever, but we'd also watch it online. We could watch it streaming. NASA has its own feed, of course, online. And in fact, as somebody wrote in the Bulwark, if you're watching online, you're then treated not just to the majesty of this extraordinary moment, but also then the darker side of American society in the comments feed, where they're talking about how this is all fake and the moonshot is a conspiracy and all this kind of thing. So our society has changed. We've fragmented. We don't share the same landscape of media and experiences these days. But it was extraordinary, I think, to watch for this one moment something greater than ourselves, greater than the war and greater than our politics and our division, something we can all be behind. Polls show that NASA is one of the few institutions left in America that have bipartisan support across the aisle, and I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Peter, do you think that, in some ways, these transcendent events, a few days ago we were all talking about the transcendent event of the end of the UConn-Duke game, right? It's very different, amazing, obviously. Yeah. But, these amazing things that everyone is sort of gathered around something, whether it's their phone or a TV or something, in which they're watching it in a moment that obviously fleetingly is going to transcend the divisions that we're all living amidst. And I don't know. If only there were more. I guess my question for you is: Do you have a sense? Well, first of all, what makes you sort of decide to sort of step back and sort of look at an event like this in the context of all the turmoil we're all trying to get our heads around every day?
Well, I thought it was really telling that we had this national moment watching the launch on Wednesday evening, and then just 2.5 hours later, the president comes on the screen to change the subject. Right? We're not even allowed to have one evening of common purpose. The president comes on to talk about war, which, of course, has divided the country and is causing such economic uncertainty around the world. And it was such a fleeting thing, to use your word, to see this achievement and then to see the message stepped on. And it was actually kind of curious about why Trump did that, actually. That speech didn't have to be given that particular night. Didn't say anything new. He could have given it any time in the last 32 days. And it's also curious because I think the Artemis program is something he could brag about. It is something that got going under his first term. I was actually surprised he didn't go to Florida to watch the launch. I talked to Jared Isaacman, the NASA administrator, in January and asked him if the president was going to go. He says, well, the president really wants to do these kinds of things, so he didn't go, and he didn't really choose to highlight it. And I think it's a sign of our times that we're focused more on the things that are dividing us than the things that bring us together.